On April 15, 2025, President Donald J. Trump signed a sweeping executive order targeting drug prices within the Medicare system. This move sent shockwaves through the pharmaceutical industry and ignited hope for millions of seniors struggling to afford their medications. The order, a cornerstone of Trump's healthcare agenda, aims to reshape how Medicare negotiates drug prices, potentially leading to significant savings for beneficiaries. This executive order is not just about numbers on a balance sheet, it's about people. It's about the seniors who have to choose between their medications and putting food on the table. Trump's initiative seeks to empower Medicare, traditionally a passive player in drug pricing, to negotiate more aggressively on behalf of its beneficiaries. The executive order tackles several key aspects of the pharmaceutical landscape, including the controversial pill penalty, the role of pharmacy benefit managers, and the pace of drug approvals. Trump's approach has drawn both praise and criticism, with experts divided on its potential impact. Will this executive order be the game changer that finally reins in soaring drug prices? Or will it be another chapter in the long and frustrating saga of failed attempts to reform the pharmaceutical industry? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: Trump's actions have placed the issue of drug affordability front and center in the national conversation. One of the most significant aspects of Trump's executive order is its focus on addressing the so-called pill penalty. This term refers to the discrepancy in how Medicare negotiates prices for different types of drugs. Currently, Medicare can negotiate prices for traditional small molecule drugs after 9 years, but must wait 13 years before negotiating prices for more complex biologic drugs. This discrepancy, critics argue, gives an unfair advantage to manufacturers of biologic drugs, which are often newer and more expensive. The pill penalty effectively shields these drugs from price negotiations for a longer period, potentially costing seniors and Medicare billions of dollars. Trump's executive order aims to level the playing field by directing the Secretary of Health and Human Services to work with Congress to equalize the negotiation timeframe for both types of drugs. This could mean extending the negotiation window to 13 years for all drugs, or potentially shortening it to 9 years for both. By eliminating the pill penalty, Trump hopes to create a more equitable system that allows Medicare to negotiate lower prices for all types of drugs, regardless of their complexity or how long they have been on the market. This move has been lauded by patient advocacy groups, but has drawn criticism from the pharmaceutical industry, which argues that it stifles innovation. At the heart of Trump's executive order is a bold attempt to strengthen Medicare's hand in negotiating drug prices. Currently, Medicare, which covers over 65 million Americans, is largely prohibited from directly negotiating drug prices with pharmaceutical companies. This restriction, critics argue, puts Medicare at a significant disadvantage and contributes to higher drug costs for seniors. Trump's executive order directs the Secretary of Health and Human Services to explore ways to empower Medicare to negotiate more aggressively with drug manufacturers. This could involve granting Medicare more flexibility in negotiating prices, allowing it to leverage its massive purchasing power to secure lower prices. The pharmaceutical industry has long resisted efforts to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices, arguing that it would stifle innovation and limit patient access to new treatments. However, proponents of Medicare negotiation argue that it is essential to curbing rising drug costs and ensuring that seniors can afford the medications they need. The outcome of this tug-of-war over Medicare's negotiating power has enormous implications for both seniors and the pharmaceutical industry. If successful, Trump's initiative could lead to significant savings for Medicare beneficiaries. However, it is likely to face fierce opposition from the pharmaceutical lobby, setting the stage for a protracted battle over the future of drug pricing in America. Trump's executive order also takes aim at another powerful player in the pharmaceutical supply chain: pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs. PBMs act as intermediaries between drug manufacturers and insurance plans, negotiating drug prices and managing formularies, which are lists of covered drugs. While PBMs are supposed to help lower drug costs, critics argue that their lack of transparency and complex rebate system contribute to higher prices for consumers. PBMs often negotiate rebates from drug manufacturers in exchange for placing their drugs on formularies. However, these rebates are not always passed on to consumers, raising concerns about conflicts of interest and hidden profits. Trump's executive order directs the Secretary of Labor to propose regulations that increase transparency around PBM fee disclosures. The goal is to shed light on how PBMs operate and ensure that they are acting in the best interests of consumers. This increased scrutiny could lead to reforms that curb PBM's power and potentially lower drug costs for seniors. The executive order's focus on PBMs reflects a growing recognition that addressing high drug prices requires tackling all aspects of the pharmaceutical supply chain. By increasing transparency and competition in the PBM market, Trump hopes to create a more efficient and affordable system for seniors. So, the new executive order aims to speed up the approval process for drugs and medical devices. This is a big deal because traditionally it can take years for new treatments to get through all the necessary regulatory hurdles. The goal here is to make sure that patients can access innovative therapies much faster. Additionally, the order focuses on simplifying the import process for drugs that have been approved in other countries. By doing this, it opens up more options for patients and can potentially lower costs by increasing competition in the market. It's all about making sure that life-saving medications are available when and where they're needed. Overall, these changes are expected to have a significant impact on the healthcare system, improving access and affordability for many people. It's a step towards a more efficient and patient-centered approach to healthcare. Simplifying healthcare costs is a major focus of the executive order. By aiming to increase transparency, the administration hopes to make it easier for patients to understand what they are paying for. This could lead to more informed decisions and potentially lower costs for everyone involved. A question on many minds is whether seniors will ultimately pay more. The executive order includes provisions to cap out-of-pocket expenses for Medicare recipients. However, there are concerns that these caps might lead to increased premiums or reduced benefits elsewhere. It remains to be seen how these changes will play out in the long run. Public opinion on the executive order is quite mixed. Some praise the efforts to reduce drug prices and increase transparency, seeing it as a step in the right direction. Others worry about potential unintended consequences, like reduced innovation in the pharmaceutical industry. The true impact of these measures will likely take years to fully understand. The battle for affordable drugs is far from over. Will we see cooperation between the government, pharmaceutical companies, and healthcare providers, or will there be conflict? The success of the executive order will depend largely on how these key players choose to engage with the new regulations. Only time will tell whether this will lead to more affordable healthcare for all. Gap 3S. The battle for affordable drugs is far from over. Will we see cooperation between the government, pharmaceutical companies, and healthcare providers, or will there be conflict? The success of the executive order will depend largely on how these key players choose to engage with the new regulations. Only time will tell whether this will lead to more affordable healthcare for all. Gap 1S. The new regulations are set to significantly impact pharmaceutical companies. As the government tightens its grip on drug pricing, these companies may face lower profit margins. This could lead to a shift in business strategies, including increased focus on innovation and cost-cutting measures. Gap 1S. For some pharmaceutical firms, the changes might drive them to seek alternative revenue streams, such as expanding into global markets or investing in new technologies. On the other hand, smaller companies might struggle to adapt, potentially leading to mergers and acquisitions within the industry. Gap 1S. While the intent behind the regulations is to make drugs more affordable for consumers, the ripple effects on the pharmaceutical industry could be profound. How these companies respond will ultimately shape the future landscape of drug development and availability. Gap 1S. As we continue to monitor the unfolding situation, one thing is clear. The road to affordable healthcare is a complex and multifaceted journey. The actions of pharmaceutical companies in response to these new rules will play a crucial role in determining the success of this initiative. Gap 1S. Stay tuned as we bring you more updates on this evolving story. Thank you for watching. Gap 3S. The government's role in drug pricing has always been a subject of intense debate. With the new regulations, the landscape is shifting more dramatically than ever before. Gap 1S. The executive order aims to give the government more leverage in negotiating drug prices, potentially leading to substantial savings for consumers. However, this newfound power comes with its own set of challenges. Gap 1S. One of the primary concerns is whether the government can effectively balance the need for affordable drugs with the necessity of fostering innovation in the pharmaceutical industry. Striking the right balance will be crucial to ensure that new, life-saving medications continue to reach the market. Gap 1S. Additionally, the implementation of these regulations will require significant oversight and coordination across various government agencies. This could lead to bureaucratic delays and inefficiencies, potentially undermining the very goals the regulations aim to achieve. Gap 1S. Critics argue that increased government intervention could stifle competition and reduce incentives for companies to invest in research and development. On the other hand, proponents believe that strong government action is essential to protect consumers from exorbitant drug prices. Gap 1S. As the new rules come into effect, the government's approach to drug pricing will be closely monitored by all stakeholders. Their actions will not only impact the pharmaceutical industry, but also set a precedent for future healthcare reforms. Gap 1S. The road ahead is fraught with both opportunities and challenges, and the government's role will be pivotal in shaping the future of drug affordability. Gap 1S. Thank you for joining us as we continue to explore this critical issue. Stay tuned for further updates on the evolving landscape of drug pricing. As we look to the future, the prospects for Medicare and drug pricing are both promising and uncertain. Gap 1S. With the recent legislative changes, there's a renewed sense of hope that seniors will finally gain relief from soaring prescription costs. Gap 1S. Experts predict that if implemented effectively, these reforms could lead to a more equitable healthcare system where life-saving medications are accessible to all, regardless of income. Gap 1S. But the path forward is not without its hurdles. Gap 1S. The pharmaceutical industry is expected to push back, lobbying for amendments and exemptions that could dilute the impact of these regulations. Gap 1S. Additionally, the global nature of drug manufacturing and distribution presents its own set of challenges, making it imperative for international cooperation to achieve meaningful progress. Gap 1S. Nonetheless, the potential benefits are too significant to ignore. Gap 1S. Lower drug prices could free up resources within Medicare, allowing for better coverage of other essential health services. Gap 1S. Moreover, a more transparent pricing model could foster greater trust between consumers, healthcare providers, and the pharmaceutical industry. Gap 1S. As we navigate these complexities, one thing is clear: the fight for affordable healthcare is far from over. Gap 1S. It will require ongoing vigilance, advocacy, and collaboration among all stakeholders to ensure that the promises of these reforms are fully realized. Gap 1S. Together we can build a future where healthcare is a right, not a privilege. Gap 1S. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay hopeful.